Are you ready to rumble? Today, we are diving into the world of professional wrestling with the highly anticipated game AEW Fight Forever. This game has a lot to offer for both new fans and big fans of AEW. I'm Waba Plays from Three Dads and a Console, and today we're going to tell you if this is a champion caliber game or if it should tap out. AEW Fight Forever is a new wrestling game from THQ Nordic. And when it was announced, people were actually really excited. AEW has really come up in popularity recently, and they signed big names like Sting and Jericho. But for them to finally get a game, people can actually play as their favorite wrestlers. So AEW Fight Forever has a lot of different wrestlers that you can choose from. I was blown away by some of the wrestlers that I actually remember. I'm a big 90s wrestling fan, and then to see the Hardy Boys that I could play as in the year 2023 was really exciting. When I was playing, it had all the moves I remember. They had the Swanton Bomb. It was just, I had a lot of fun with it. And the one thing I noticed most is that this game is so much like my favorite wrestling game of all time, WWF No Mercy for the N64. If you played that game, AEW Fight Forever is going to be super familiar and you're going to feel right at home. The gameplay mechanics are very reminiscent of that title, and it gives you both ease of gameplay and also too like satisfying payoffs. So a lot of the game I noticed was like striking, and you have both a hit, like a punch, and a kick button. There's grapple, there's like a regular grapple which gives you, mid-level moves, and then a strong grapple that gives you more powerful moves. When you've worked up your way to a special, which can be done either by inflicting damage, not taking damage, or by taunting, you can then use your signature move by using a strong grapple, or by your Matt Hardy going up on the turnbuckle on a lying down opponent. And I kind of sped through the tutorials because I'm impatient, even though William Regal was like voicing them. And I knew how to play because it's basically like that N64 game that I know and love. There's a whole bunch of modes you can get into, just regular practice, like tag team, all these different types of ways that you can get involved with AEW. They also have a co-op mode, and there's also a really interesting story mode that immerses you in the world of AEW. The premise is that you start from the beginning when AEW is founded, and it shows you videos, live action videos of different things happening, like AEW getting its start, some of its first pay-per-views, and it's actually really interesting to learn about it. I haven't followed it since the beginning. I've only become a recent fan, so it was actually really neat for me. And you'll start a journey starting from being an up-and-coming wrestler. You get signed by AEW. You're kind of a nobody. Even if you pick someone who's like well-known, you still kind of start from the beginning, and you work your way up through the ranks, and you face off against all these big AEW opponents. And it has some of these like cutscenes that are kind of goofy. Like, one of the things is you take selfies with people, and the faces are like really funny. You can train in the gym, and in my case, I got hurt both times because I'm soft emotionally and physically. And you have to go to the hospital to repair yourself, where there's a little cutscene there. And you go around each city during your tour, and while you're there, you can actually do two things that are city specific. You can go out to eat, which it's always the same restaurant design, but it will tell you about a food that's like a big deal there. In Washington, they talked about like the big slice, and back in California, they talked about like avocado toast, and it was really funny. The craziest thing that I thought was that when you start the single player story mode, there's an option to go to these restaurants. It's either vegetarian or non-vegetarian. And then you can also go sightseeing. At first, I thought it kind of took me out, but then I remembered like the promos for wrestling are either they're super like intense or they're kind of silly. And I think this kind of borders on kind of silly. You can also earn money through your progression, and you can use that to buy different costumes and different outfits for your character. And you can also buy different characters in the store. I don't think there's a real money option, which I really like to see. And it gives you that sense of progression. No matter what mode you play, you earn things for the store, even if you play single player offline. The graphics, I would say, are fine. I was actually kind of disappointed in the intros when you enter the arena. I feel like wrestling intros are supposed to be like big and over the top, and instead of seeing like the whole walk down, all like the fanfare and the pyro, it just goes to them entering the beginning of the arena, and they do like a little pose, and then that's it. it just cuts. I think some of the character faces look a little off. Even in the character select screen, I figured that would have been a little more polished than it looks now. And also too, I feel like the arenas just kind of feel small in the sense of when it zooms out a little bit, like when you do a signature move, which I love the replay immediately of a signature move, it blacks out past the first few rows and it just feels a little empty. Now, that's not to say that this isn't a game worth picking up. I was having a lot of fun with it because, again, it's no mercy. I haven't played a wrestling game like this since then, and it felt like I knew the game all along. I didn't have to look at tutorials. I figured out how to play, and it's very intuitive. So if you've played those games, you're gonna have a lot of fun with this. And if you're an AEW fan, you're gonna love the fact that you get to play with these superstars that you know and love in a video game. Finally. For a first try for AEW, I think this is a really strong game. It's really fun. I would say it's more arcadey than simulation. But whether you're a diehard AEW fan or just someone looking for a wrestling game that's a little different than what we're normally used to in recent times, AEW Fight Forever, I think, really offers something different. It captures a lot of what makes wrestling fun, and in my opinion, what has made wrestling games fun. And that's just being able to beat people up. So if you want to step inside the squared circle and experience a blast from the past, if you're a big WE No Mercy fan, I think you're going to love this game. It's going to feel like you never put it down. And if you're an AEW fan, I think you're going to have a lot of fun with this. You finally get to play with all the superstars that you know and love, and AEW has been electric recently. It's really gaining even more momentum than it already had. And now that this game is coming out, I think people are going to really enjoy being able to play as their favorite characters and also creating their own how they perform against the AEW superstars.